What's up, brothers? It's Flash back with some more charts and another video. Today is Wednesday, May 29, 7 p.m. on the dot. Would you look at that? Late video tonight, evening checkup. What we're going to do is, so I have these sections on the right. We got leaders, we got middle of the pack, we got lagging in tickers for some of our favorite uranium stocks that we like to track. I just created a new section called A Players. And what I'm going to aim to do is find the top 5, top 6, top 7 tickers that I think have been the best performing or are looking like they're going to start outperforming, generally speaking, right? Kind of a fun exercise. I'm going to do this live with you guys, show you my thought process, how I'm thinking about this. And feel free to drop me a like or in the comments, let me know how you might think about it. I'm always open to new perspectives. I feel like I have an open mind. And I'm always trying to get better. And so just to kind of kick things off, this is URA, obviously. We can look at URNM as well. I consider them virtually the same. I know that URA has some solar companies in it, but it just has so much more data that we can play with. And when we overlay them, they're pretty much the same. Also have URNJ, U.UN, but we're going to be using URA as the general basket of uranium stocks. And so when I pull up some indicators, I'm specifically gonna, so number one, momentum, looks like we have a little bit of a momentum breakout as defined by the distance from the moving average, the 3-year moving average. This is on the monthly time frame. And so it also looks like URA is bottoming, rounded bottom against the S&P 500 and bottoming out with a little bit of a bull flag right here against gold. So general statement looks like the basket of uranium equities is going to start outperforming the S&P 500, going to be outperforming gold, which is two really, really, really good things that we want to see in a uranium bull market, because that means we are attracting capital from other sectors, primarily general equities and sound money, that is gold. And then lastly, the one I have on the bottom is URA, the basket of uranium equities measured in CCJ. So uranium has been, the basket of uranium stocks, the ETF, has been underperforming CCJ as far back as we're collecting data, which is 2011 in this example. So that means I want to be measuring other uranium stocks not against URA, but against CCJ, because CCJ has been outperforming the basket, the broader market, so to speak. And so we can even put a trend line on here to kind of gauge this. And so that's exactly what we're doing here. URA measured in CCJ. Downtrend, if we flip it, this is what CCJ looks like versus the URA ETF, okay? So hopefully this makes sense. CCJ has been outperforming the entire basket. And so we want to be looking at tickers and measuring them as it relates to CCJ. Because if we're not outperforming CCJ, why wouldn't we just have our money in CCJ? Right? Not financial advice, do your own research. So I'm going to start making this A list of players, and again, would love your input, but mainly going to be measuring them using momentum, how we look from a momentum perspective at this point in time, and how we're looking against CCJ. Because if URA is bottoming against S&P and bottoming against gold, CCJ is outperforming URA, meaning it's outperforming the S&P, it's outperforming gold. So we want to be looking at things again against CCJ. I hope that makes sense. I know I just explained that about 15 million times, but the more I talk through it, the more it clicks for me at least. Okay, so let's just go through these one by one. CCJ, I'm going to put in A players to begin off the bat because it's a leader. It is the name. There's a lot of liquidity in CCJ, which also matters from entry and exiting. So we'll talk about that maybe in another video. But okay, back to Bannerman. Take a deep breath. Bannerman looks great from a momentum perspective. We're holding this trend. We're breaking out of this, what looks like an inverse head and shoulders. And we can talk about this bull formation all we want, but this is kind of a general support line that looks like we're following. And yes, we have a horizontal / a couple horizontal breakout lines that we need to keep an eye on and hopefully just travel up this bull. But Bannerman, man, one of my favorites. We're putting that in A players because it looks like it's going to start outperforming CCJ. And it really has been since, June, this time last year, it's been outperforming. But general statement, we've gone sideways, but in a bull formation. Okay, next up is Boss Energy. And so look what we have here on Boss. Not the greatest when it comes to, looks like there's a momentum breakdown. There was news recently that the CEO sold some of his stock. I'm not going to get into fundamentals or news. All I really try to pay attention to is the chart. The chart tells us the answer. And so when we look at Boss measured in CCJ, kind of have a wedge formation similar to here. That could be bearish, could be bullish. But right now, at this point in time, if this holds true, this is a monthly defined breakdown in momentum. I would say Boss needs a little bit more time to consolidate, and eventually this line right here would be our next momentum breakout line. So let's pause for a second on Boss. I'm going to keep it in the leaders category, but I'm not going to put it just yet into the A players, because I also would anticipate this breaking down versus CCJ. And if we're not outperforming CCJ, likely we should be not in that stock. Okay, so over to Paladin. Another one that from a momentum perspective looks really good. We have a little bit of a breakout here, both sideways and horizontally. Price chart looks good. We're up into some resistance here at around $17. And then we just got to look at against CCJ. And this looks even better than Bannerman. Like this is what appears to be, maybe it's a broadening wedge or a bull flag of some sort, but typically I would look at it doing something like this, which is kind of goes right hand in hand with its outperformance and getting up to this previous resistance ratio against CCJ. So honestly, I am even going to rank these. I'm going to put Paladin second, because if we just want to look at Paladin and then we look at Bannerman, both look great, but I think Paladin, I don't know, just has a little bit more structure to it. It's a little bit more well-defined, so to speak. Okay, let's look at Encore Energy. Another crowd favorite. We can look at momentum. Looks like it's kind of poking its head out, breaking out. Lots of room to run here for Encore. Like, look how stretched we can get. We can get about 400% stretched above this 3-year moving average, or 200%. So just briefly, we can measure that. So if this moving average continues to kind of go up and to the right ever so slightly, 200% above that is, around $16. 400% is around top of the channel, about $27. Encore looks great, but let's look at it versus CCJ. Interesting. I mean, we can kind of look at this a couple different ways, right? I mean, this looks like it's in a parallel channel and could be breaking down. Also, there's a breakout line that we might be creeping up towards. This kind of needs a little bit more data, a little bit more time. I'm not even sure if this channel should exist or not. Like, let's just remove all drawings here. I didn't mean to do that. And I don't know, it's an interesting one, right? I mean, there's kind of a wedge here. We broke out of this wedge, so it kind of looks like Boss Energy right here, where it actually broke out. And then, we kind of retested the breakout point. And then we have this horizontal. And maybe we already broke out of that. So I don't know, it's kind of going sideways. I'm going to keep Encore in a leader. I wouldn't say it looks as good as Paladin or Bannerman, but it's definitely an attractive chart. All right, over to FSY. We'll turn the moving average off for now. Momentum, nice little breakout here. It looks like, right? There's only 2 connection points here, but you do have that inverse head and shoulders look to it. And then if we pull up its comparison, or its how it's doing it versus CCJ, this arguably is a bull or not. I kind of threw it on here because, look at the price chart. You can kind of see downtrend, double bottom, breakout, back test, and resumption upwards. You can kind of put a bull shape on there. But I'm not sure if it really is properly put on here versus CCJ. We'll keep it on here. We're above the moving average. Looks like we're curling up versus CCJ. Man, I'm tempted to move this up. Let's just start for now. Gotta think on that one. But the price chart just looks so effing good. Nice big fat base. Looks like we're breaking out this month. I mean, and this puppy could run. I mean, let's generally throw a trend line on that moving average. Up, down, up, down. I mean, yeah, I mean, it looks good. Is it an A player though? You know, we'll put it in there for now and we'll see what happens. Okay, UEC. Okay, so I actually had a note on this one. Momentum breakdown, consolidation, reset with moving average. And so what I mean by that is from a momentum perspective, we have a little bit of a breakdown. Looks like we need to consolidate a little bit. And this is a new line that we need to get above from momentum. I also can kind of see one right here. So let's see what momentum does. Right now it looks like it needs a little bit of a breather. And against CCJ, literally just going sideways. So we're going to keep this in a leader. We're not going to put it in A players yet, but we'll see if this can break out versus CCJ. And then, yes, by all means, I think it could be considered for an A player. All right, next gen energy. Another one where there's a little bit of a momentum breakdown. Okay, that means it needs to take a break, take a breather, kind of reset. And let's see how it compares versus CCJ. I mean, this looks like it could be one big bull flag, but I also see some, you know, rounded top here, a lower high, could be in a lower high again. We got to keep an eye on this one. If this breaks down, again, there's one touch point here, a couple right here. This looks like it could be valid. I'm not 100% sure. Definitely not an A player right now for next gen. But again, it's in a general uptrend. It's not a bad stock. I think it's going to outperform the S&P. It's going to outperform gold. But I would say the momentum has slowed. But we'll keep an eye on next gen. All right, Denison Mines, DNN. I mean, Denison Mines just kind of broke out right in front of our faces, and it looks really good. Clear momentum breakout. Love to see it. Let's look at it versus CCJ. Just pretty much straight sideways for the last 10 or 15 years. Recently has been outperforming. I'm definitely going to move Denison up. I'm not sure it's an A player though, just because of its performance against CCJ. It doesn't look like Bannerman or Paladin. You know what I mean? All right, let's look at ISO. ISO is catching my eye as a buy low candidate, and I say that because of this momentum right here. Still hasn't broken out yet, but there is that clear breakout line, which some of the other stocks have already done. And then we look at versus CCJ, there's a clear breakout line. You know, you could call this a bull flag or a broader consolidation, but there's a line that we clearly need to get above. I'm also going to move ISO up because I think this could pop. You know, once it breaks out of here, I think it'll run against CCJ. Just at my perspective, right? So I'm gonna move ISO up in the ranks, so to speak. Okay, so I think that looks really good. There's a ton of upside here. This is going to be a longer video, guys. I appreciate you guys tuning in for this one. Okay, I'm going to go through a good portion of these, and I'm not going to go through the laggards right now because they have a lot to prove, in my opinion. So we'll start with AGE, Alligator Energy. Try to keep this chart as simple as possible. There's a breakout line we need to get above, and I think we can find ourselves in this price channel. Similar momentum to ISO with a relatively clear breakout line. And then versus CCJ, again, similar to ISO, man. I kind of want to move this up as well. Bull flag against CCJ. I'm going to move AGE up to one of the leaders. Is that crazy for me to do? I don't think so. We'll move it below ISO. Okay, let's just hold on that for now. Okay, over to Lotus. Lotus, I mean, has just been green monthly candles, just chugging along. Momentum staying strong. And then look at this. Lotus versus CCJ. I smell a breakout. So that looks really good. I'm going to move Lotus up into the middle of the pack. And honestly, am I about to make Lotus an A player? Let me think on this. I got to think on a couple of these because yes, it could break out, but then, we could go sideways for a bit, so to speak. We could consolidate in this little zone right here before like a horizontal breakout is so much more powerful, I think. And that just requires a little bit more time, a little bit more data. But I do like the look of this. So we'll keep Lotus in our back pocket. Over to Centris. Centris is approaching this momentum breakout line, which I love to see. I personally am invested in Centris. You can kind of tell by all the lines on this chart, but let's look at it versus CCJ. I mean, huge downtrend. Why would you ever be in Centris personally instead of CCJ? But, maybe this is an early warning sign of a potential breakout. But definitely not a leader, has a lot to prove. We would want to see this stock against CCJ kind of breakout versus that. So we'll leave those lines on for now. You kind of have a cup and handle formation. Not sure if it, but I do like the look of it. Double bottom, breakout, back test, consolidation. I mean, love to see it. Okay, Elevate. Love Elevate. Clear momentum, consolidation. Hopefully we can break out. Let's look at it versus CCJ. Okay. Yes, huge downtrend versus CCJ. Okay, that's a given. Looks like we could be outperforming in the near future. And say we outperform for a year or 2 or 3, that would put Elevate into the leader of the pack. I'm gonna keep Elevate in the middle, although this does look good to break out. So we'll zoom in on the price chart a little bit. I know there's a lot of lines on here. I'm also in Elevate. So we kind of just got to get up here past 75 cents, I think, and make a run for it. All right, Sky Harbor. Great bottoming formation, great bull, a lot of support here. So I got some lines on here. They're kind of messed up. I don't know how that happened, but hey, we'll just kind of touch it up here. So clear breakout points here. Let's look at it against CCJ. Not ideal, but I mean, there's a clear breakout line to keep our eye on. All right, Laramide. I love Laramide just because, again, such a great classic bull shape. It's holding its shape. Let's look at momentum. Okay, looks pretty good. Let's look at it versus CCJ. And so here's another one that's kind of under the radar. Again, nice bull shape. We're starting, that could potentially be an aggressive breakout line versus CCJ, but we can draw another one in right here. Uh-oh, am I going to put Laramide into an A player? I think I'm going to for now. I love this one. I'm not in this one yet, but the upside is insane. Insane. So let's just, okay, I'm going to say this isn't finalized yet, but we'll keep it Laramide in the A player for now, okay? All right, MGA, Mega, another one that has a great bull. But it did recently break down momentum-wise, so it needs a little bit of time to consolidate, hence the consolidation. And then if we look at it versus CCJ, and so, I don't know, see, there was a breakdown here. It's got to break out. I'm going to keep MGA where it is. DYL, Deep Yellow, another one that looks sneaky, sneaky good. Looks like we're breaking out momentum-wise, and if we pull up another one, see, I'm not sure if the bull is appropriate for this, but there is a rounded bottom going on technically, and there's a breakout line right here. I'm gonna star Deep Yellow because I don't think I can put it as an A player right now. I know I did for Laramide. I think I'm going to move Laramide back out, but we're going to star Laramide. But Deep Yellow also looks so good, and we got to keep our eye on this because this is approaching a massive breakout versus CCJ, so we've got to keep our eye on this. Okay, Energy Fuels, UUUU. I recently said this could be the bottom for UUU based on this breakout. We still have some work to do, but when we look at it compared to CCJ, ugly. stay away until further notice versus CCJ. GLO. I touched up this chart recently. Like, you can still make this look like a bullish chart, but it just needs more time to consolidate and doesn't look good versus CCJ. Western Uranium, another lovely bull. Looks like we're approaching momentum breakout, which is good. And then let's look at it versus CCJ. I mean, like Elevate, we could start to outperform CCJ for the next 2 or 3 years and bump our head up against this resistance line. So we'll star Western Uranium for now. I can't move it to an A player yet, though. All right, UROY. Interesting. Not a ton of data on UROY, but then when we look at it versus CCJ, we're approaching a breakout point. So we'll keep our eye on that. We'll star UROY. F3 Uranium. Clear breakout line momentum wise, and against CCJ there is kind of the look of a potential bull here, but it's too early to tell. There's too much work to do against CCJ. Okay, CAP. Potentially, we've got to keep our eye on it. I'm not convinced yet. Can Alaska is an interesting one because look at momentum here. We got a breakout on momentum. You know, we may continue to break out like that. And then let's look at it versus CCJ. Okay, another one we can keep our eye on. We want to break out of this. And then last but not least, let's look at Yellowcake, recent one that I've added. Been in an uptrend for a while. Momentum, you know, a little bit. There may be a breakdown here with Yellowcake. Might need to consolidate for a little bit. But kind of flat and sideways against CCJ. I don't know. I'm not convinced yet. But we can definitely move Yellowcake up because it's going sideways. It's keeping up with CCJ, I should say. So, all right, the A players as of now, CCJ, Paladin, Bannerman, FSY, and on the bubble. Maybe I should do an on the bubble one where it's Laramide, Deep Yellow, Western Uranium, and UROY. I do like Laramide and Deep Yellow a bit more. So we'll see. But guys, hopefully this is helpful. Kind of a different, fun video. I know it's long. If you made it to the end, drop me a like, and I'll see you guys in the next one.